So at Upheaval Dome, what we have is we have a structure that is fairly enigmatic. There are two major theories that are proposed for it, and people have been writing papers on both sides for a number of years. So the question to ask would be, well, at this stage, where is this debate? And I think it's fair to say that at this point, most people, or most of the publications that are written, tend to favor the meteor model. And I think that's for a couple of reasons. First of all, an early edition of the SALT model, the idea that the salt was buried underground, is clearly wrong. And that tends to discredit the SALT model altogether in many people's eyes. We already tried the SALT model, we saw that it was ridiculous, therefore we don't need to listen to the SALT model anymore. The second factor is that the current SALT model, which is the idea that there was a salt dome that was up in the air that was pinched off, and that we're looking at kind of the roots of a pinched off structure, is fairly arcane. There aren't a lot of people who've ever seen a structure like that except on seismic data, and they mostly work in oil companies. They don't work in academic institutions. And not very many people understand salt tectonics to begin with. It's kind of the dark child of structural geology. So on the one side, you have a meteor model, which is very sexy, it's violent, creatures were killed when there was an impact. You know, it's a very easy to understand and grasp model. And you have a SALT model, which is not very well understood by most people and is the child of a model that was wrong. So given those two things, I think it's fair to say that the meteor model is probably the one that most people would grab onto first. However, in my view, that's not really the way a debate like this should be settled. What we should be doing is we should be looking at observations, looking at evidence, and basically building a chart that says what observations are consistent with which models, and when we lay it all out there, does there seem to be one model that's favored over the other one?